This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Town Commission on March 7th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Thank you to those who are listening to our live audio feed. Just a reminder that those that wish to make public comment during the meeting are encouraged to attend in person in our chambers or send comments to the town clerk prior to the meeting. Before roll call, I would like to just request a moment of silence in hopes for the de-escalation of war and a move towards peacefulness in the Ukraine region. Thank you. Clerk Armstrong, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Koss.
Here.
Mayor DeHassett.
Present.
Vice Mayor Herbert.
Here.
Commissioner Pugh.
Here.
Commissioner Bichelet.
Here.
Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. I have a presentation to add to the front of the agenda for employee recognition. And I would also like to remove item number 4 in reference to building permit extension for 6273. I would like to remove that from the agenda completely.
Okay.
I would like to take out of the consent agenda item number
1G, I think.
Is it 1G?
Yep.
1G?
For the public certification, 1G is a resolution of the Town Commission to enter into an interlocal agreement with Palm Beach County regarding the regional funds from the opioid litigation settlement.
Didn't we already do a vote to accept it?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, you did. This is just coming back to you now with the agreement to be signed with Palm Beach County.
So I'm reluctant to pull it off the consent agenda just because it has been voted on. I understand your passion and your rationale. I really do. But I'd like to look for a consensus of the commission direction.
I consent.
You consent to that?
We're leaving on consent agenda.
Right?
Yeah, that's fine.
You voted on it. Yes. Thank you. All right, moving on. I'll now entertain a motion on the approval of the agenda as amended.
So, second.
That is a motion by Commissioner Pugh, a second by Vice Mayor Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't know. Yeah. I guess we're both.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you. Okay, in presentations and proclamations.
So if I could have Sergeant Pylon come up for a moment, please. I'm gonna kind of put him on the spot. He didn't know that this was gonna happen. So he's being commended tonight for saving the life of a young gentleman here in Ocean Ridge back on February 11th at approximately 10:30 in the morning. He was dispatched to the Ocean Club for an unconscious, unresponsive person. Upon his arrival, he identified the individual as possibly being in an opioid crisis, deployed Narcan that is funded through a grant that we currently utilize for those services. And approximately 10 minutes later, when fire rescue arrived, he had already been able to get the young man back to consciousness and alert and aware of his surroundings. So that confirmed to us that it was in fact an opioid overdose. And had he not provided that service and that gentleman would have been unconscious and unresponsive for 10 minutes, he likely would have suffered some form of lifelong, debilitating injuries as a result. So I want to commend you and thank you for saving the life. And he will actually get a ribbon that he is able to wear on his Class A uniform that indicates that he is the recipient of a life-saving award. So Deborah, it's your turn.
Look at the face.
See, she was clapping for him just a minute ago, and then
Walking
she
out the
said,
door.
"No." So Deborah is getting a similar award, except she saved the life of a dog. So January 11th at about 8 a.m., we received a panic call from a resident who was elderly, whose dog had been chasing a bird and didn't realize that there was a seawall between him and the intercoastal, so he just went right over it and into the water. The dog was a German Shepherd. He was unable to recover himself to dry ground and was struggling to stay afloat. Deborah responded immediately to the call and was decommissioning her gear while she was en route. She went right in the water, as everyone here would probably expect Deborah to do, and she went swimming for the dog, with the dog, and then brought the dog to shore, in essence rescuing the dog. And saving the dog's life, as well as, gaining another great support of a resident, right? So the story doesn't end there. Although Deborah did a great job that day, the resident actually has donated a boat to the police department. I guess he realized that day probably a boat might have been helpful. I mean, in that circumstance, she would have still done the same thing while she was waiting for help. But again, thank you, and I commend you for a job well done. I don't have a dog saving pin to put on.
We'll make one.
Wow, that's an excellent way to start the meeting. Okay, Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please read the announcement?
The meeting schedule for the next month is as follows. Regular Town Commission meeting will be Monday, April 4th at 6 p.m. Town Commission Goal Setting Workshop will be Monday, April 18th at 5 p.m. Code Enforcement Hearing will be Tuesday, April 5th at 10 a.m. Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be March 21st at 8 a.m. Board of Adjustment will meet on March 16th, 2022 at 9 a.m. All meetings are held in the Commission chambers at Town Hall. Please join us on March 12th at 10 a.m. at Town Hall for Turtle Talk with Kim Jones. Speaker Kim Jones is a native Floridian and retired engineer who has worked with threatened and endangered sea turtles for 40 years. Kim has been lecturing to private clubs, school, and governmental entities for decades to increase awareness of these compromised creatures. By bringing attention to the 150-million-year-old species, she hopes to inform the town about the upcoming activities during nesting season, so we can better understand and contribute to the vital work on behalf of the sea turtles. Please join us at Town Hall on Saturday, April 2nd for the Save the Seas event at 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more information regarding this event, please visit the town's website. There will be no municipal election in March, as only one candidate qualified to fill the one town commission seat. The candidate that qualified is Steve Koss. Commissioner Koss will be sworn into the office on March 9th. The town commission will consider appointments to the following board positions at the May 2nd, 2022 town commission meeting. Board of Adjustment, 1 regular member and 2 alternate members for a 3-year term, and Planning and Zoning Commission, 2 alternate members for a 3-year term. Interested residents must be registered to vote in Ocean Ridge and submit a resume and letter of interest to the town clerk by the deadline of April 20th at 3 p.m. Incumbents are exempted from the resume and letter of interest requirements. Bridge repairs on the Island Drive Bridge, Sable Island Bridge, and Inlet Cape Bridge will commence on March 15th for a period of approximately 90 days. Written notices will be mailed to all residents potentially affected by this construction. Residents on these islands shall prepare for potential traffic impacts such as lane closures near the bridges throughout the entire construction period. We thank you in advance for your patience. Please join us each month prior to the Town Commission meeting at 5 p.m. for the Building Officials Educational Forum in the Commission Chambers at Town Hall. Details, including topics to be discussed each month, are on the town's website. Residents who wish to sign up to receive important town notification and news through Civic Ready should sign up to the town's website or call Town Hall for assistance.
Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public comment for any topic that is not listed on the agenda. As a gentle reminder, there is a 3-minute limit per person. Well, anybody? Lots of hands.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Cynthia Archbold. I live at 5552 North Ocean Boulevard. I've lived here for 8 years, and I am on the Ocean Ridge Garden Club's Beautification Committee. And we believe trees help make Ocean Ridge the lush paradise it is. So the Garden Club believes we should look into becoming a member of arborday.org, which has a Tree City USA program, and we are asking for your help to do that. What is arborday.org? It began in 1872 in Nebraska, which did not have any trees, and they wanted to make the place attractive to the new settlers, and so they started this organization, arborday.org. It became a national organization. And Tree City USA is one of Arbor Day's programs, and that's what we want to belong to and be recognized by. So according to the arborday.org website, it says, our founders had a vision for a greener, healthier America and hoped this initiative would inspire change on a nationwide level. The first Tree City USA cohort was comprised of 42 communities in 16 states. And today the program includes more than 3,600 communities from all 50 states, Washington, DC, and Puerto Rico. Communities that provide a healthy tree canopy enjoy cooler temperatures, would that be welcome here? Cleaner air, higher property values, healthier residents. Not bad. So how about Florida? Has Florida participated in this at all? Well, here are the pages of the cities that are involved in Tree City USA, the ones that have decided that this is really beneficial to them. Florida has more towns and cities in this program than any other state in the country, more than 200. And that includes Boynton Beach, it includes Boca Raton, it includes Delray Beach, Town of Palm Beach, Stewart, tons of little small towns, Juneau, you know. So tons of towns and cities have recognized the benefits of this. The Garden Club is proposing that Ocean Ridge apply to be recognized by arborday.org through that Tree City USA program. And according to the Arbor Day website, Tree City USA provides communities with a 4-step framework to maintain and grow their tree cover. It also gives them an avenue to celebrate their work, showing it to residents, visitors, and the entire country. Now, the application is entirely free, and it rewards us for all the work we've already been doing. We already are qualified to belong to Tree City USA because we have a wonderful, lush environment, which we pay a lot of money already for to maintain and keep. So why become a Tree City USA community? A thriving urban forest, it offers many advantages to communities, and these include, they absorb the sounds of traffic by 40%. Neighborhoods with trees are 7 to 9 degrees cooler than those without. Trees reduce energy costs by 25% by shading buildings and protecting them. Homes with trees have higher property values. Green space plays a major role in improving mental and physical health, and planting and maintaining trees absorbs carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, mitigating the effects of sea level rise.
May I give you 1 more minute to finish up?
Yes. So I have to hand out to you this Arbor Day Proclamation. This is what we need to get the ball rolling, is this proclamation that says we're going to celebrate Arbor Day annually on the last Friday in April 29th this year. Thank you. And so that is why we're here. It's a 2-page application, and we already fulfill the requirements. We would have the Garden Club be the tree board. It would be a voluntary advisory board to the commission. We would do a lot of the work. And of course, the people you already have working, doing the landscaping would continue doing what they're doing. Really, we'll continue doing what we're doing already, but we get to be recognized for it, and we get to have that benefit. It's like free PR. It raises awareness and incentivizes residents to plant non-invasive species on their properties. It keeps everybody following the guidelines that the state has put out, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Town manager, how would we proceed? Are we looking for consensus tonight for the proclamation, or do we want to discuss it and bring it back at the next meeting? What
No,
are we
just give me consensus to work with Cynthia, that's enough.
I'm good. Okay,
Fine with
all
that.
good. All right. Thank you
Cool
very
beans.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beans, that's my line.
Good evening, Jim Wahey, 19 Sable Island Drive. I just wanted to mention to Chief Jones and the rest of you that anytime there's an animal emergency, anytime a matter of day or weekend, feel free to call me. I will always be available. In the past, there were 2 calls that I got over the past years. One of them was 10 o'clock at night. I got a call, there were 2 albino Burmese pythons. No, not albino, they were Burmese python loose on one of the streets. And they asked me to come and pick them up and take care of them. I had my own snake, which I did. And then another one incident was really cute. I got a call from the office that a woman came up off the beach. When she was walking along the beach, 4 little ducklings started following her, and the mother wasn't obvious anywhere. So she asked, or they called and asked how to come over. Since I deal with animals, so they figured I could take care of it. So I did. I came over and got them and took them to the house. And I had a little wading pool. And I had put water in it. And it was for children, of course. And I figured they should take a dip in fresh water and get the salt water off, okay? So I'm doing that, and I'm seeing this crow on the house roof next door. And the ducklings had a good time for a while. I tried to do them all, put them in a box and dry them off and take them somewhere. And as I walked in, I heard a noise. I didn't say anything about it, it was just a crow cackling. And when I turned to look out at the patio, that crow flew down to the box, grabbed one of the ducklings, flew back up to the roof of the house, and started tearing it apart and eating it. I was not happy. But anyway, feel free to call me if you ever need any help.
Thank you, Jim.
And Deborah, I mean, she also was swimming in
Yeah.
yeah, but she's great.
And for those of you who don't know the history, thank you, Jim. Jim has also been very instrumental in helping us set up and maintain that koi pond for many years. So I'd like to publicly recognize you.
The local vet.
And the local vet. All right, somebody.
Thank you. Well, since it's Salute the Policeman night, I want you to know we had one of the worst accidents I've seen in Ocean Ridge, Ocean Avenue and A1A. And I was amazed at how smoothly our police force ran that operation. They got ambulances, people in the hospital, dump trucks in to take the dead cars, excuse me, take the smashed cars away, people to clean up the street. They kept people moving and without irritating anyone that I know of. And I was standing talking to one of the people that had been in the accident. And I wanted to make sure she could get to the hospital where her husband had been taken. And at the end, I heard this click and I turned to her. I said, did he put handcuffs on that man over there? She said, yes. And the man seemed to know what was coming. And yeah, the man, was he a fugitive?
He was.
That caused the whole accident, but the whole program just ran as smooth as ice.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bingham.
My name is Earl Jones. I live at 14 Sailfish Lane, where I've lived for over 40 years. The picture you're looking at is at the end of my easement. I understand this got there. There used to be 3. There were one on each side of the Diamond Beach walkover and this one. Fortunately, Mother Nature took care of the 2 that were on each side of the Diamond Beach crossover, but it left this one. Now, if you look at it, you'll notice you're facing the ocean. You're not facing the dune, which is private property. They want to put a sign on the private property and say, this is private property, please stay off. That's fine. But this says private beach. There is no such thing. We've had that discussion. I was here at the meeting last May when this subject came up. There is no such thing as a private beach. It's a public beach. The thing that's amazing, my understanding is these signs were approved by the city at the request of Diamond Beach after they said there was too much public recreation on their property. Now, the funny part is I've lived, like I said, on Sailfish Lane. Our easement goes through Diamond Beach on their southern driveway. They originally wanted to use Sailfish Lane for the access to the back 5 units, but we said no, negotiated that we'd share their driveway as our easement. But in the 40 years I've been there, there's been a standing joke that when there's more than 2 people on the beach, it's crowded. So this idea that there was too much recreation on the beach is, I think, total garbage. I doubt if our town manager went down and observed that there was too much recreation. I want to get this sign out of there. I had dinner with the Brees and the Beaumont, both long-term residents on our street. They want this sign out of there. I don't know who has to approve to get rid of it. It should have never been there. We don't have private beaches, and we don't tell people you're trespassing, particularly when you're looking at a sign that looks at the ocean. So I'd like to find out, how do we get rid of this?
Diamond Beach is actually a public access.
That's a public access, yeah. And there were 3 of these signs, like I said. There was one on each side of the Diamond Beach walkover, and then for some reason they placed one on our easement. Now, our easement does have a sign that states this is an easement for the residents of Sailfish Lane and is to be used by, I forget the exact wording, but there's already a sign on Old Ocean that states it's a private easement. I want this thing out of my area. I don't want to get sued on my street because we have a sign in our easement that's illegal. So I don't know who has to take it down.
Who put it up?
I don't know whether the city did, or the city obviously was involved. If you look at the sign, it's obviously the same company that makes the city's signs. I have no idea who put it actually there. It was done at the request of Diamond Beach for supposedly this recreational thing, which is pure garbage.
Mr. Jones, let us do some investigative work and find out who did it. Just because.
Now, I've been writing letters for like 4 months, 5 months on this, so it's not news. This should have been taken care of a long time ago, ma'am.
There are probably 3 sides to every story, as there always are, and signs in and of themselves are not.
Do we have public beaches, ma'am? Or do we have private beaches?
We have both.
We have private dunes. We don't have private beaches.
Okay, thank you for clarifying my statement.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your
Thank you.
comments.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Britt Flanagan. I live at 5556 North Ocean Boulevard. And tonight, on behalf of the Ocean Ridge Garden Club, I would like to request the opportunity to put a banner advertising the Save the Seas event, which the town of Ocean Ridge and the Ocean Ridge Garden Club is sponsoring. The banner would be placed on the pergola in that circle, the parking circle. It would be tied to that pergola. There would be no nails or any damage to the pergola itself. And we would request that the sign, which is 3 feet by 6 feet horizontally, would be placed for 2 weeks prior to the event. The event is April 2nd, and we would request that you consider this and grant us permission to do so. And
Town manager, would you need consensus tonight?
Absolutely, because it's against town code, the size of the sign. We don't allow banners in that manner. So it would have to be a vote of the town commission to allow it.
So we're talking about above the pergola, above the front door.
No, you're talking about
The
the
gazebo.
Parking
gazebo
circle.
in the circle.
I have a question. Is there a flat space on it, or is it the sign gonna be curled?
it's I think it's a rubberized banner. I don't know what they
Can you
Vinyl
read it?
banner.
Can you read it?
Yes, it's large enough.
No, I mean, once you install it.
Well,
sure I can read
it faces, it's the little gazebo, pergola, whatever it's called. It's square, and one side of the square faces faces A1A. And we had requested for this previously 2 years ago, and it was granted by the commission. And it would be tied to that front facade of that pergola.
I see what you're
It's
saying.
So the pole plus a.
Yeah, there are 4 poles.
All right.
Okay.
And
Now I get it.
yes, so it's, I actually didn't even notice that that was there until I was asked to do this evening. But it's a small area. I believe it's a covered in case somebody is waiting, and it's just for the convenience of our
Temporary, 2
citizens.
weeks, correct?
Yes, it would be a 2-week period and no damage to the structure in itself. It's just, it would
It's
be
actually a
gross.
good area to actually, I mean, if it's facing A1A,
But it sounds like you can do it perpendicular. Right.
you want to make sure that people that are driving by can read.
Coming in.
It's a great event, so you want to advertise it as good as possible.
Right, and anybody coming out of the Boynton Beach parking
Parking
lot
lot
for
will see
beach
it.
parking will see it.
And
There,
if
you
you
know,
guys are happy, I'm happy with it too.
right, I mean, it would probably be wonderful if we could string it across the road. But I don't think that's going to happen. So,
No,
I mean,
luck with
we'd
that
be
one.
happy to do it if the town would grant us that as well.
I have no objection, except I would definitely do it in concert with the chief, just in case your sign's getting too close to A1A and it's causing him concerns.
Where you're wanting to put it, I don't have any concerns.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay,
right,
I'm
and-
good with it. I'm good with it. Good.
fine.
Good.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Town Commission. I have one other challenge, which is actually for the town itself. The Save the Seas is a plastic awareness event, April 2nd. It's 8:30 to 3 on Saturday the 2nd. And we are going to have a beach cleanup that will benefit all of us. And we challenge our citizens to join us. If you're interested, come to the lower parking lot of the Boynton Beach parking area, and you'll be directed to a location where there'll be bags and gloves and picker uppers, whatever they're called. But we welcome you and hope you will join us. It's going to be a lovely event, and I think it celebrates everything that our community stands for. So come and enjoy the day. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm also going to leave these, or can I pass them out in chambers or not?
You can leave them in the back and people can
Okay.
pick them up.
All right, I'll leave them in the back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you again. I'm sorry I missed the last 2 meetings that you've had in previous months. But my name is Virginia Siggety. I live at 33 Exor Way, and I'm here on behalf of all the grateful and obviously and very happy dogs of Ocean Ridge to once again ask and find out what more is appropriate to do if we'd like to consider allowing dogs on the beach within a specified period of time, like say before 9 and after 5 or something like that. But would like to once again ask you to consider that, and it's certainly if there's anything I can do to present something to take it forward, if that would be welcomed, I would be happy to do so. Thank you.
Okay, there's another resident that is working on the same exact issue.
Excellent.
I would strongly advise you get in touch with her. If you want to send me an email to my town email, and I will forward you her contact information, and you guys can get together.
I've actually been connected with her already, and since I got here late, I don't know if she's here. But I'm okay. I will follow up with you and her, but thank you.
Thank you so much. And, yep.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Kane, and I've been a resident here for about 7 years. I'm here today because I'm asking for your support. Myself and my friend Nadia, a proud Ukrainian American, are working on an initiative to help out the Ukrainian people. We want Ocean Ridge to get involved. Sorry, this is just heavy. As the world watches Ukraine suffer through these horrific attacks, we must act. At this moment, over 1 million Ukrainians, mostly women and children, are fleeing Poland, leaving their possessions behind to save their lives. The brave Ukrainian men are staying back to fight their land and freedom. Nadia and I have put together a plan to make it easy for our community members to get involved. We've created an Amazon list with most needed items, and we've created boxes with flyers listing the top 5 needs to fill them up. We would like to put these boxes in the town hall or at the police department to spread the word and gather items to send to Ukraine. Together as a team, we've devised a plan to ensure urgent items needed are delivered to Ukrainians seamlessly. In addition to our current efforts, we are also keeping an eye on a program that is being created to aid Ukrainian refugees fleeing to the US. I have direct connections within this program due to my experience working with refugees. After talking with several Ukrainian resources, we were able to get in touch with East America, an international package and freight service for Eastern Europe, with a focus on Ukraine. East will have weekly flights to Poland and get supplies out via truck for refugees in Poland and all the people left behind in Ukraine. Actually, today, many of our items that have been purchased already are boarding a plane to go to Ukraine right now. We've been in talks with them every day as items purchased through our efforts get delivered directly to East. Items bought through our urgent Ukraine needs list will be shipped directly to East, and East will then turn around and ship our items directly to the UK and then bring them where they're needed. So far, over the past 5 days, we've had tremendous results. Thank you to the help of our friends and family and friends and family of our friends and family. 5 days, within 5 days of this effort, we've received over 430 orders and a large sum of cash that's gone directly to Ukrainians. So if there's any doubt in your mind you would receive any support from our community, let that be your guiding light. Thank you so much for your consideration, and please help us help Ukraine. I have boxes that we've created with these flyers. I would love to set them up wherever we can around here and spread the word however you guys think is best fit, whether that's in this little town hall area or however you guys spread word for these type of opportunities. I'm just asking for your help.
What did you say about Amazon?
We have an Amazon wish list that we've created, and the address that the items go directly to East America, and then they get shipped on a weekly basis to Poland and then get distributed.
So how can we help Madam Mayor get the word out, and what can we do in the town to, have you had, maybe the young lady could come and speak to you about what we could do?
Yes, so permission to place the boxes in town hall.
Can we also possibly add something to the town website? Like
Maybe a
donation
civic
link or
radio,
something?
And
civic radio output,
Ocean
and
Time.
The only thing that I need to caution
Right.
with you, is, please vet the organization.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Make sure that you vet
you can speak to them.
it. There's a lot of things going
Right,
on.
we just want it to go
There's a
right.
Donation.
Absolutely.
Aid agency lists that
Mhm.
is vetted. already.
And furthermore, I've been in working with an agency out of Miami with other types of refugees. They're one of 9 agencies that help resettle various different types of refugees in the area. And that can be fully vetted as well. Whatever items are so bulky, it doesn't make sense to ship. It's inevitable refugees are going to be coming to our area. So those bigger, bulkier areas, products will probably be going through there. So I can provide that information to vet.
So Ms. Kane, I think you have consensus that we'd like to go forward, and please just work with our town manager to get it set up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very tough act to follow, but come on up.
You're not kidding. That sounds petty at this point, but I feel I need to say this. Mark Fields, 5700 Old Ocean Boulevard. I, full disclosure, have been in contact with Chief Police, our town manager, and I've met in person with Chief Jones. Spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I feel very comfortable that we're making some progress on the enforcement issues on Old Ocean. That's particularly important to me since I've almost been hit twice by cars going through that stop sign. I'm not ready to check out yet. And I feel very comfortable knowing that there is a plan in place, and I support what the chief described as their use of officer discretion. So I'm completely confident that they are going to figure out something, and I'm happy to sit on this task force / committee and offer whatever insights I can possibly offer. But the rules apply to all of us, whether you're a resident or you're a guest. The law is the law. If I violate the law, I expect to get a ticket. I expect to be penalized. I'm no different or better than anyone else in this town, in this state, or in this country. Segueing to the beach, and I know we're dealing with the ADA because I moved from Pillage by the Sea, so I'm all too aware of all of these issues. My question to you is, where are you going to go from here? Are you really going to just say, okay, we can't do certain things because of the ADA, and you're going to allow dogs on the beach, you're going to let it go? Do you remember Dog Beach? You want that? Okay. There were 8 dogs on the beach last Sunday, running wild, 3 Rottweilers, 5 other dogs. We have a new resident who was bit by a dog on Old Ocean, and I have a neighbor who was jumped by a dog down by Anna on the beach. So I'll just present it in question. Are you gonna let it go? Are you gonna come up with solutions? What can you do legally? It's complicated, I get it. Maybe it's a legislative issue, the same way we had to deal with halfway houses. Everything seems to go under the Americans for Disability Act. That's just the blanket thing, and now every animal is a service animal. I don't know where you go from there. I would ask you to think, where are you going to go? Where is this going to end up? The third thing, and these are my comments, I think the town should have 3 goals. Public safety, and I'm including services in that, police and fire, all of the work that the community, the town does for behalf of the community. Common good and the quality of life. Those are the 3 things that I think are most important for any town, any city, any municipality. Along those lines, I've sat here for probably 6 meetings, and I've listened to just blatant disrespect. I've listened to disinformation from people getting up and talking, and I find that just totally unacceptable. So I suggest when somebody is spreading disinformation, and I'll say the word lies, it should be stopped right then. If somebody is disrespectful, I've heard people yell at one of you guys, personally tell you something, that is unacceptable. It needs to end, and that person should be asked to leave the meeting. If we cannot have a discussion and talk about things reasonably, where are we headed? Where are we headed?
Mr. Fields, I'd like to give you 1 minute to finish up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think he was finished.
A lot of words when I first came here about, and I'm just using this as an example, I'm not picking on anyone, about the beach paths. They were stolen, we'll never get them back. I've been down there. I talked to some of the owners on Hudson. They said they look better now. Those beach paths were never going to be taken away. They look better. I met a couple who put up the seawall. There's a coalition of 8 homes. Not 1 penny of town money went to those beach seawalls, correct? Right. They formed a coalition and they paid for it. You cannot let these lies and disinformation continue. I base my life on reason, science, and facts. Those are the things that I look for, and I hope that you guys will focus on those things in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Field. And believe me, having respectful people in the public is appreciated by all of us. But there's also a fine line where the public has a right to speak and to express themselves. So we try to make sure that we can balance both of them. And sometimes we do a good job, and sometimes we go home and we have something to drink. Yes, sometimes. Any further public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please read the consent agenda into the record?
Adopt minutes of the regular town commission meeting of February 7th. Acceptance of the revenue and expenditure reports of January 2022. Approved budget expenditure of up to $70,000 for Force AV to replace the audio-visual system in the commission chambers. Approved budgeted expenditure of $12,935 with 25 cents to Axon Enterprise for body camera maintenance agreements for FY22. Approved budgeted expenditure of up to $64,000 to MWI pumps for the refurbishment of one 40 HP pump and one 100 HP pump at the Tropical Pump Station. Approved budgeted expenditure of up to $45,000 to Benchmark Painting and Carpentry for the painting of the town hall facility. Resolution number 2022-03, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement with the Palm Beach County regarding regional funds for opioid litigation settlements, authorizing the mayor to execute such agreement, providing for conflict severability and an effective date, and for other purposes. Adopt the agreement between the Town of Ocean Ridge and the Palm Beach County Police Benevolence Association, Inc. for the period of October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2024. Resolution number 2022-05, appointing a special magistrate and approving a 2-year professional service agreement for special magistrate services with Davis and Associates, Inc. Approve 1-year extension of the town agreements for iguana management services with Blue Iguana Pest Control, Inc. Approve 1-year extension of the town's agreement for town planner services with Place Planning and Design, Inc. Approve lien satisfaction for 101 Benito Drive. Approve unbudgeted emergency expenditure of up to $14,000 to DSC to replace the police department alarm monitoring receiver.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. That is a motion by Commissioner Cos, a second by Vice Mayor Herbert and Commissioner Pugh. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion, nay. Nay?
Nay, yes, because of the one.
Okay. Motion passes 1-4. Commissioner Fischelak dissenting. Okay. Regular agenda items. I'm not sure we're gonna hit our time limit here, Jeff. Okay, agenda item number 2, second reading of ordinance 2022-03. Clerk Armstrong, will you please read the ordinance by title only into the record?
Second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, amending its code of ordinances at Chapter 58, Utilities, Article 2, entitled Fencing and Screening of Sewage Disposal Facilities and Treatment Plants by amending Section 58-26, entitled Require Payment of Cost, Review of Plans to revise the fencing requirement to be by concrete block wall of up to 8 feet in height of sewage disposal facilities, or sewage treatment plan, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severabilities, and an effective date.
Thank you. Town Attorney Godot, would you please advise us on this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is second reading of this ordinance to allow for an increase in height of the sewage disposal facilities walls. It includes, as we discussed in first reading, some minor tweaks to the language. Right now, chain link fences are also authorized. Moving forward, we remove those chain link fences and just allow for a wall up to 8 feet tall. This will avoid a variant situation for some of them that are existing today.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Ron Kern, 5510 North Ocean. Right now, I'm representing the Colonial Crown Manor Disposal System. Since the last reading, since the first reading, I had a chance to check this out, and I managed to talk it over with 3 or 4 of the multi-family condos in the area. And I'm a little bit perplexed on it because I'm not quite sure. I understand this first part that I just heard from the town attorney, but this looks like it's an admin deal to stop variances, and I can understand that. It's interesting that it talks about new plants, and I'm wondering, where is there a new plant? You all know that I profiled every plant in Ocean Ridge, and there's no new plants. There may be a renovation, and you may even have a plant, okay, that's going to change its configuration from, let's say, a drain field to injection well. But the fact is that there are no new plants. So when you talk about a new plant on here, I guess this almost seems like you're just correcting what would be an ordinance conflict. But that's not the issue that I'm dealing with this one. It has to do with, actually starts with the number 4, which is the chain link fence. You use a word a lot in here called repair. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. For where I come from, for repair, that happens every month to us. We spend thousands of dollars on repairs. So I don't quite know what you mean when you talk about repair. If you're talking about repair to a fence or to some shrubbery, maybe I can understand that. But when you talk about repairs and what you need to have as being permitted, it's lacks specificity. I think this needs to be rewritten with much more specificity for what you mean in each one of these areas, because one size doesn't fit all here. So I need an explanation of what repair means. Also, when you're talking about repair, it also states in here very clearly that if a permitted repair, and that one is another one that I don't quite understand either, that's where we would need to do a series of events to present to the town. I don't think I know what that means, but again, I'll give you an example. We are considering installing a new injection well. Big bucks, but it's necessary. It's a 50-year-old plant, and I cannot run a plant that's doing 60,000 gallons a day treatment, okay, with wells that may fail. So as a utility, we can't have that. Not when you service as many units as we do. So, but in order to put a new well in there, we actually got to take out an 8-foot section of the ficus, 8-foot section of the chain link fence, because we have a combination. We have 6-foot wall, 8-foot walls, ficus, 20-foot ficus, 10-foot ficus. We have chain link fence. So we have all these different configurations that secure the facility. So this new injection well requires me to take out that much space. It needs to be permitted, I assume, okay, that you require a permit to put in a new injection well. We have to build basically a bridge across all the piping that's in there so that we can drill the well inside the plant. I don't know what that means when I have to put it back together, because surely a 20-foot ficus can't be replaced. All right, so does that mean that the whole plant would have to be redone? Does that mean that the whole chain link fence now becomes a 8-foot wall, 6-foot wall? I have to tell you, when I read this, I don't know what authority, okay, that's going to tell me exactly how to be handle this properly with the state ordinance, or the town ordinance. Sorry. So that's my my 2 cents on this. It would have been nice if someone would have ran this by me. Okay, if you would have collected, say, why don't you give somebody a call who knows about how this works, and I might have helped you with the language in this. But right now, this is very vague to me, and you could put this in, but I don't know what it means, and I don't know what it means for, frankly, okay, for Durante to come and talk to me about it. Because if repair means something, please tell me what it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kernan. Yes, in hindsight, it probably would have been a very good idea to approach at least 1 or 2 of the package plant managers to see if this, and I think you are correct in your assumption that this is an administrative cleanup for something that exists on the ground and trying to go forward. It was not meant to be punitive or I think confusing to anybody. It was hopefully to make life easier, but it doesn't sound like it achieved.
Well, it's definition. It's not. It sounds to me like a reasonable thing to do, and I can understand that if there's some facilities, okay, that are tearing down things where people have to look at a ugly plant, okay, that needs to have some standard to it. I can appreciate that, but I just need to know what rules you're really trying to apply, because I'm going to be butting up against them.
And one of the reasons, even though that there was consideration from Commissioner Pugh at the last meeting, exactly in what you're saying, is that there was a permit that was pending and that they weren't able to move forward and do anything without this being in place, if I recall correctly. So this is actually a little bit of a different language than actually came forward on the first one. So Commissioner, what would we like to do?
Madam Mayor, if I may clarify just on his question about what repair is. The language that's being revised is only regarding when you need a permit to do repairs. So that falls into the building official's domain. So if you have to get a permit to do repairs and you have a permitted chain link fence around your facility, that chain link fence can remain as long as the building official feels that there's sufficient coverage of that chain link fence so it's not observed by the public. Because the idea is you don't want to see chain link fence around the town. And that's why moving forward, we no longer would allow chain link fence, but you can have it permitted and the building official determines it's properly screened landscaping, you can leave it there if you have to come to the town for a building permit to repair something that's dealing with your facility. If you're doing regular maintenance and repair that doesn't require a building permit, the town's not involved, so this doesn't apply.
And here,
I have to say, it still doesn't help me out. There's very few things that I would come, okay, to the town building official inside that plant as a repair. There's just nothing that would require that unless I was doing some constructual work, tearing down one of the sheds that hold blower motors or stuff like that. Other than that, I don't know what that repair would be. I don't know what examples that would be.
when you're switching over into an injection, when you're switching over the plant to a new injection well, that would probably trigger that you need to.
Yeah, well, I would, yeah. Let me tell you, the town is the least of my issue with putting up new wells.
Good to know.
I got DEC.
Thank you for that.
I got paperwork, that's like the DEP with that.
So I wasn't here for the first reading of this, but maybe I'm misreading this, but it says required hedge screening. Right? So why do we care if it's replacing a chain link or a wall?
We don't, because if you read in number 4 here, it says which require building permit. So this is only if you do require a building permit. A provision is added to allow the chain link fencing to continue if previously permitted, and if the landscaping is of sufficient density and height to reduce the noise of the plant and screen it. So that right there, you're already grandfathered in. If you have a chain link fence, you're already grandfathered. If you have to tear it down, then you have to replace it. And there's provision number 3, which says the landscape screening will need to be the same height as the wall at the time of installation of a new wall, which is not the case with you, or anticipated to be that height within 6 months. So if you're taking down strawberry.
Sure, we're putting up pollution, which would grow like a weed.
Right.
I got it.
So I think you're covered because you're an existing plant, and your question there would be right. Which new plant are we actually facing? Hopefully we're.
Well, the obvious is sitting on the table as well.
Right.
Okay, this whole thing we can burn, okay, if we have a municipal sewer system.
Thank you.
Maybe we can get that sorted up some one of these days.
Shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Well, you said, I think you're okay. So what you're looking for, that's not what you're looking for.
Well,
Then
the discussion here can clarify it pretty much. Okay, I know where you're coming from,
Piece of paper.
but that didn't communicate on the paper. So, whatever you.
So do we need to take another look at this or not?
Oh, there's no holes now.
No, I don't think so.
Right, you're okay? But you're right, we should have, because
I
you're our
would
expert.
help with the language a little
Yeah.
bit, that's all. No, thank you so much for
I
your
think
time.
anything
all
that comes out of the town that has to do with any of the sewage plants should
Go
kind
through
of
Ron.
always be run by
Well,
Ron.
no, I'm not the only game in town, but I would be happy to help.
No, but
You've got a
Thanks,
big
guys.
deal, yeah.
Thank you so much.
it's great to have good advice.
Yeah, thank you. All right, having said all that, and I think commission discussion is already concluded, I'll entertain a motion on adopting ordinance 2022-03 on second reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
That is a motion by Commissioner Ishalak, a second by Vice Mayor Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Okay.
should have gone to planning and zoning. We wouldn't be micromanaging it right now.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. Okay, agenda item number 3, Sable Island beautification. Town Manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this item?
Absolutely, thank you, Mayor. As you may recall, the Town Commission allocated $15,000 for safety lighting and irrigation upgrades for phase 1 of the Sable Island beautification project in FY20 and voted to revisit phase 2 of the beautification project in the FY21 budget, with the Sable Island residents raising matching funds for the landscaping portion of the project. Since the safety lighting and irrigation upgrades were more expensive than we expected, work to date on the safety lighting and irrigation was accomplished through the efforts of Sable Island volunteers and equal matching funds between the town and Sable Island residents. In addition, residents painted the bridge and guardrails, added lighting, and funded a license plate recognition program to address safety concerns on the island. The work for phase 1 of the project took longer than expected, and we were not ready to present the phase 2 landscaping portion in FY21 or 22 budget cycles as we expected. The Town Commission only appropriated $5,000 for FY22 budget for beautification projects, and that money has been expended on other priority projects at this time. The Sable Island Beautification Committee has determined that phase 2 of the project will cost approximately $21,000 to complete, with the town investing $10,500 and residents contributing matching funds of $10,500. We would ask the commission to approve the funding for phase 2 of the project and allow staff to work out the details with the committee in the best interest of the town. Staff will ensure proposed plantings, avoid power lines and potable water lines. We have 2 options. One is to approve phase 2 now using contingency funds from the current budget. Or option 2 is to budget for phase 2 in the amount of $10,500 in the FY23 budget. We do have residents here that would like to speak to the commission regarding the project.
Here's the presentation. My name is AJ Emanuel. I live at 33 Sable Island Drive, and I'm here to represent the Sable Island Safety and Beautification Committee on phase 2 of our project. In March, if you remember, March 2nd of 2020, we were here for the first time requesting funding to support the project. I'm just going to take a couple minutes to do a brief background. Some of you may be new to the project, do a brief background on the project, what we've done, what remains, and our request for the town. From a phase 2 perspective, well, if we look at the background of the project, right, there was a rash of car break-ins in 2019. There was inadequate island lighting. And on the beautification side, we had all the vegetation pretty much at the bridge had been eroded and no longer exists post a hurricane, which occurred in early 2000. There's no sprinkler system at the bridge, and there was no lighting or no electrical capability at any of the common areas, which made the common areas very dark and residents very reluctant to walk around at night. This is a view of the island. The rear triangle is the first item, and it was that we've done some work there. We've completed it. I'll briefly go after that and show or address that and show you what it looks like completed. The front triangle was addressed and completed. It's the bridge area now that's our work in process and the most significant work that remains on the project. This next slide is really a picture of what it looks like completed. We had a number of residents that helped us to remove some old plantings that were there. Thanks to the town, we brought lighting to the 2 triangle areas. We're able to light them up at night, really making the island much safer when you walk around at night, and enabling the residents to really walk their dogs and do things much more comfortably than we were certainly able to before. We planted some new plants. We added a dog bowl thanks to one of our residents who contributed that, sod, and then installed a bench, which a number of our more senior residents use when they walk around the island if they're looking to take a little break. The other picture is of the front of the island. We installed lighting there as well.
And to Tracy's point, it was, the boring was more significant. The costing of getting lighting to the common areas was one of the more expensive items that we ran into, in addition to the lighting. But do want to take this opportunity to thank the town, Billy, Tracy, and the staff for all the support. There were hours that were put into this project, and it enabled the results that you saw there. So where we are now and what we've done on the front of the bridge is really just we brought power to the bridge, but we've got some limited lighting there now, which is just as you cross the bridge. But the residents painted the bridge, the guardrails, we added the lights, we funded the license plate recognition position or program to enable, again, further enhance the safety on the island. And this was really done by the volunteers, and as I mentioned, the teamwork with the town. So what remains? So this is what our entrance to Sable looks like currently. You can see it's been pretty, it's pretty sad. And it just requires some, a facelift and some updating. The vegetation, as I mentioned, was destroyed and nothing has been replaced since then. This is a rendition of what we plan to do. We went out for 4 quotes to different landscaping firms in the area, and this is one of the renditions that came back. The pricing, we feel very strongly we've got competitive pricing at this point with the 4 bids that we've got, and we also have worked through the design with a number of these contractors, and we feel that we've got a very stable design. So we would plan to, the lower left is really what the bridge would look like when it was completed, and along with the plantings and the trees we would like to put in, and then the berm is the second area, which was the slide that you saw previously. We use the information that was provided by the town to select the plants that we would plan to put in there. So we're confident that these are plants that would withstand wind and the salt, and they're natural to the area. Next slide. This is what remains, and this is the cost breakdown of what remains for the trees and plantings, the lighting of the trees, the sprinkler system, the backflow valve that we still need to install. Unfortunately, we have no water there currently, so in order to ensure that the plantings we put in survive, we need to complete the sprinkler system, and then we'd like to put an island marker there. So our request of the town is for $10,500. The residents would plan to match, and in fact, based on numbers that we're getting, the residents would be doing more than an equal match to what the town we're requesting the town provide here. Lastly, I want to thank the town staff, the commissioners, for their support thus far on the project and for enabling us to create a safer and more beautiful environment. As you could see, our police department was involved in our effort, along with a number of residents. It's been a true community initiative, and there's been a real team spirit in helping to create a safer and more beautiful island on Sable. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd now like to open it up to public comment.
Jim Lee, 19 Sable Island Drive. I just want to add to AJ's comment. It's really interesting this time of the year, the amount of people and animals that come off the beach condo and walk our island, because they told us that we don't have through traffic, so it's safe. But it was like the Westminster Dog Show this time of the year. And they're all over the place. And it's not just people with dogs. A lot of people walk just for exercise, young and old alike, or biking. So the lighting is rather important because a lot of these people do this at night. So we appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. Now I'd like to open it up to commissioner comment.
What exactly?
Memorable.
Great.
Way to get what they look, you're going to have other, but the best thing is that the residents are actually helping the truth.
Exactly.
Beautiful, beautiful thing.
Do we have money to do this now, or is it more feasible to put it in the budget for October? Okay, so I want to know the hard, cold facts.
And if I can play on that, I thought we had beautification reserve.
We did, but it's gone. It's all in the reserves of the town. Right. Right. It's all, some of the reserves are earmarked for certain things and some are just general reserves.
Got you. And are we under or over budget at this point? I mean, I know you never like to answer that question.
No,
Contingency wise, the funding we would.
way too early.
Everybody says
Way
that
too
money
early.
has been expended in other
Right,
projects.
so we're trying to
But
go over.
if you remember in the consent agenda, I believe it's a consent agenda, they're gonna start repairing your bridge March 15th, so April, May, June, right? So now we're getting towards the FY '23.
Right.
So there'll be delays, I'm sure, in the reconstruction of the bridge, right?
Yeah, we do have bridge.
So actually, I feel very confident with the bids that we have, and I
No,
guess.
not your work, but DOT work.
Yeah, yeah. And in talking to the suppliers, I think they're ready to go. We've been talking to them about this for a couple of years. So I think they're really ready to pull the trigger. And I guess the only other thing I would share is that having worked closely on this over the last 3 years, in the last year, prices have escalated 30 to 40%. So when I'm looking at these numbers and when I initially spoke to everyone here, with the numbers that I came in with, it was amazing to me how much the numbers have gone up based on the environment. And so moving it into next year, my concerns would be.
Next year starts October.
Yeah. The quotes that we have currently are firm through the end of March. So we would need to go back out after March and get updated proposals if we don't pull the trigger and start placing some of these
But I
orders.
assume you don't want to do any of this before the FDOT comes in with their heavy equipment to fix the bridge.
Well, so I don't know what that work would look like and how much of this would be affected by that. This is not on the bridge. This is really before or after the bridge.
But I'm assuming that trucks, tractors, whatever they use.
Right, landscaping comes last because of the issues that go with the trucks, the.
My
spring water.
understanding is the repairs are underneath the bridge, not on top of the bridge. So the work would come from underneath.
But they have
They
to
come out
have,
of the
they have
park
to have
and bring the
equipment on the
equipment.
bridge. They're gonna have to have power.
Even the
to-
exhaust, right,
This is,
need plan.
this is the ingress and egress from the island.
Right, I
Not on
saw,
the bridge.
I saw the last slide. The bridge is in between where you're trying to put your stuff. All I'm saying is they're gonna rip up some of that bridge with using heavy equipment and very
For
specific.
the area.
That's gonna take 3 months, so it's gonna be April, May, June. And I don't think you'd want to plant your plants and take the chance of these trucks parking on your landscape.
No. Can we clarify that with the contractor if that would actually impact this beautification project?
Even if they say it won't, I wouldn't chance it. It's your money.
But the drawings we have. Early.
Bruce Hendon, 5 Sable Island Drive. Just for clarification, I agree. I don't want to waste anybody's money, town or residents. But from my understanding, the work is underneath the bridge as well, from whatever I've gathered from the engineering reports. But this is, we have to get the infrastructure in the easements. So that's bringing electrical and bringing water and irrigation lines out to where the plantings are going to be. There's already a berm on the south west part of the bridge that they couldn't drive over regardless. On the other side, I think we're a number of yards away from the bridge where the plantings are going to go. So I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, one large truck going in there for whatever reason.
So let's look for clarification. I think really what the decision is before us today is, do we approve matching the funds? What budget cycle it will come out of, and then make sure to your consideration that things are being done in the correct time.
Or we say, yeah, you can start, use your money first, and then we'll have our money come in. If you want that, but you're risking your money.
If you get an approval, I think we could manage it from a timely perspective.
What do you project as a, you know, say we would say yes to the money today. What type of time do you project to finish this by?
I think realistically, if we could get the orders placed so we could avoid or not incur any additional incremental costs, we could probably time it with the suppliers, maybe to line up with some of the concerns that you have here. Realistically, suppliers are out 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks before they can do the work. But if they have the orders, then, we could at least firm up the pricing.
I agree. And my suggestion would be to fund it from contingencies right now, and then go, if we have to, absolutely, then we need to go into the reserves. We don't have it in the contingencies anymore. I talked with staff about this in our staff meeting. Any time delay right now is going to cost us more down the road. That's what everything in construction right now, and landscaping is part of construction, and you have plumbing in there.
Well, there's also a theory that it's reached its peak and it's just going to stay.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Because the supply chain is unlocking it.
So with your motion, I would like to add to that the contingency that they work with the town engineer and the town manager.
Absolutely. You would have to,
I
yeah.
mean, because a lot of what I'm seeing is behind a guardrail, so I'm not sure if heavy piece of equipment's gonna be going behind the guardrail anyways, but we wanna make darn sure that, a lot of people work very hard on
It's
this.
not coming by boat, when they landscape, so even the landscape trucks and what have you, when you have a small and narrow area, as y'all do, you have, just even the idling can have an effect on all of it. So, and working with.
So we're not saying we're not going to fund, it's just when's the appropriate time to fund?
Well, there's a motion standing on the table. Either
To
fund
fund
it
what?
now.
You made a motion?
Well,
Well, before we go motion, I've got some questions. So there's 3 different places you're doing this work, correct?
Two are complete. And
2 already
the
complete?
last one, the bridge is the last piece.
So why don't you phase it out? Because they're going to, the bridge people are going to destroy anything that's on either side of that bridge, ain't they not? Because 5 or 8 years ago, they did the same thing. They put new pilings on the west side of that bridge, and literally, actually in the southwest corner, they repaired all the pilings that were on that seawall. And they literally tore everything up on that corner. So it's going to get, because they have to get in there in order to fix them up underneath the bridge where it's falling. So I would say we definitely fund it, but the thing is, I think you do it in phases. I think the sprinkler ideas and the electric's a good idea, but any of the foliage put there is going to more than likely get destroyed, because DOT really doesn't.
Yeah, I'm confident if it was funded, we could work together to time it so that we minimize any risk in that area.
Get the order in for the plans.
But our problem is we either fund it now and it expires September 30th, or we say, oh, we have no problems after October 1st because all the construction will be done. And we know our money's safe and your money's safe. It's all the same.
We don't know what the costs are going to be.
And that's a concept when we talked about, we really don't have funds now because we've used a lot of our contingency in so many other projects.
Well, depending on your decisions you make.
Exactly, we find it obviously. But the point being that if we do, here's the balance, if we waited, at 35%, and landscaping is not going down. That is the number, that's the number one thing, that is not going down, so that will increase, so that's kind of the balance.
Well, it's not going down and increasing too.
It's increasing, and it's very difficult to get a hold of. All the landscape guys I talk to, they can't get a hold of anything, everything is months out.
Yeah, with all due respect, we're on the same side of the equation. This is town property with infrastructure. It's our area where we live, and we're working conjoint, and we're trying to be as responsible as we can with budget. And I'm telling you, we got 4 bids for landscaping. Every bid just kept getting more and more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. By waiting until, which I kind of wanted to do, wait till the next budget to throw in that 10,000 because we kind of expended. But how much will we, if the price goes up, then it's not, it's going to be one kind of hill.
At this point, I think none of us have a crystal ball. I admire what work you've done. I don't believe that you would be foolish enough to jump the gun and put anything in that if we knew that there was going to be trucks or anything. Would somebody like to make a motion with the contingency?
Can I make one other thing? Sure. The landscaping is 10,500, and that's what you're asking the town for. So if you do all this prep work, post the construction, I can't see you doing this during the 3-month period that expires April, May, June. So then we got July, August, September. And then we would pay the 10.5 into the landscaping at that point.
Well, it's a domino, right? Because they won't put the sprinklers in until the plants are planted.
And the lighting.
And they won't run the lighting until the sprinklers are, it's, you stop one item in this.
Yeah, the lighting can't go into the planting.
It's a one-step thing. And yeah, on our consent agenda item, there was one thing that we did was the painting of town hall,
right,
which absolutely bugs the daylights out of me. That we spent more than twice as much as we would have if we would have funded that a year and a half ago when we had it on our budget, and we kept kicking that bucket forward, and I don't want to kick that bucket forward too. Just get it done. It needs to get done.
Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Bishop?
I'll make the motion to fund them with the contingency to please work with Tracy Town Hall and the DOT people or the DOT repairs that are necessary, the contractor there, to make sure that it goes in on a timely manner.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. That is a motion by Commissioner Bishop, a second by Commissioner Pugh. All those in favor?
Can we amend the motion?
Yeah, sure.
Because we're depending on, you brought up great points, we're depending on its cooperation. So just realize the money will be there when you need it, but take into account everything that we've said about wasting the money by having it trampled, basically. So that they would work with some kind of.
But he said within the motion, he included it.
So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for your work.
Oh,
Yeah, beautiful.
Westminster Dog Show is an understatement, by the way.
but the partnership, that's the great thing. Really appreciate it.
They've done a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5. Budgeted expenditure to Ford Credit Municipal Finance for vehicle purchases for fiscal year 22. Chief Jones, will you please advise us on this item?
Yes, as many of you know, from several months back, we had Enterprise come in and provide a proposal for leasing vehicles. We have worked with them for the last several months to acquire final numbers in written form. And upon review of those final numbers, it is not advantageous for the town to move forward with Enterprise leasing. As an option to present to the commission, because obviously I know that we are in need of those same vehicles. And we did not budget to do outright purchases because of the intent to lease. We budgeted $75,000. If we are granted permission from the commission tonight to move forward with Ford Motor Credit Municipal Finance Program, we would save the town approximately $20,000 in year 1, still accomplishing the same purchase that we would have made through Enterprise. And overall, with the 5-year term, we would be saving the town $79,000 by doing this purchase instead of the lease purchase. So at this point, I'm asking for permission to go with option number 2, which is to purchase a total of 6 vehicles, 5 of which would be police vehicles. The 6th vehicle would be the building department vehicle, and we would see a decrease in that purchase price as well based on current trade values, which I've estimated to be approximately $28,500. So
that's 6 vehicles all within this next year?
That if you approve tonight, those 6 vehicles would be actually on the ground this year as part of this finance program.
See, they only have to spend X amount of dollars to get finance.
Correct.
Yeah. I was gonna say 6 vehicles for $75,000. I want that.
So we would be paying that amount for the term,
For
which
this year
is
and the next 4.
4 year, right, so it's 5-year. It's a 5-year. So next year, we will come to you and the next vehicles in the rotation will be up in the budget plus the finance payments.
That is correct. And I've outlined that in the 5-year plan, which is attached to kind of give you an idea of what those costs look like moving forward. Additionally, I want to remind you that the presentation that was done by Enterprise was also part of a 10-year plan and not a 5-year plan. So those numbers that we budgeted for, the 75,000 annual for payments to Enterprise, it was the same cycle. We would have owed them 75,000 next year as well, in addition to any vehicles that were replaced in that cycle. So really, we're going in the same pathway that we were going with Enterprise, but we're taking the lease term out of it through Enterprise and really reassigning that to Ford municipal credits, which is what they consider a lease program. But it's more of a traditional purchase where you don't have an outright payment due at the end of your term or termination fees that have to be paid when you reach the end of whatever your lease term is. So in this outline, we would actually, at the 5-year mark, we would own the vehicle with no payment option at the end. We wouldn't have to come up with $10,000 like we would with Enterprise on certain vehicles.
This interest rate locked in?
It is. Yes, sir.
And no, in all due respect to the chief, did you, the clerk, check these numbers as well?
Yes, and some of you may ask why 6 vehicles at this time. It seems like a large number, but over the past several years, we have opted not to get a new car in the rotation, which now we're way behind. We're seeing increased costs for maintaining the fleet now because they're out of warranty period. So we're trying to get the vehicles that are out of warranty replaced so that we can get them back into warranty.
Okay. Prior to any further commission discussion, I'd like to open the floor for public comment. Seeing none, bring it back to commission.
I'd like to thank the chief for this work. It sounds to me pretty basic. Enterprise oversold themselves.
Yes, sir.
Came in at higher costs. And the chief has gone to outside sourcing at Ford Motor Credit and saved the town $79,000. So to me, this is a no-brainer.
And the 5 police
I
vehicles.
second that.
And the numbers make my head spin, but
I know.
the 5 police vehicles, they are large vehicles. They're not junk cars, they're not ATVs.
No.
Okay, but it's gonna come back and hit us for that too?
Well, in
We're going for motor credit.
in next year's budget, yes, there would be an ATV potentially budgeted. But I will assure you, just like I have with every dollar I've spent that belongs to the town, I am very frugal with the money and I look at every alternative route that can exist in order to try to create a pathway that we can fund projects with the fewest town dollars and getting the biggest bang for our buck, which is one of the reasons why I actually wanted to look at doing additional trades this year as well, because the value of vehicles are higher right now. So if we trade in more, we're likely to get more on the trade value as well. So it was kind of not only the fact that we're looking at reducing the maintenance costs by getting those new vehicles and replacing those that are no longer under warranty, but also trying to get the most value out of what we're giving them for what we're getting as well.
Who gets the Ranger?
That's actually what we would propose for the building official.
Bulletproof.
There we go.
Okay. I echo Commissioner Paz's sentiments, and
I do
I
too.
think it's,
Do you want me to make a motion?
go for it.
I make a motion that we advise the police chief to go with Ford Motor Credit in the purchase of our police vehicles.
Second.
That is a motion by Commissioner Paz, a second by Commissioner Vishalak. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 6, Approve unbudgeted expenditures of up to $27,000 to United Rental to rent a generator for the Coconut Pump Station through hurricane season. Town Manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this item?
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Jones on this one. He has done some research for me on this as well.
So one of the things that really kills me is giving money away, especially for a rental. So during conversations with each of you during the last week, obviously separately, I got the idea that it may be beneficial for the town, instead of using $27,000 to purchase a piece of equipment that we would literally gain the use of for a 6-month window, that we consider purchasing another pump that could do the job of what this generator would be utilized for during that 6-month window, and therefore gain a piece of asset that the town could then utilize to keep long-term and or resell when we were no longer in need of having that piece of equipment. The cost of that piece of equipment on state bid currently, Thompson pump, which is a 6-inch self-priming cast iron pump, very similar to what we call Big Blue, which is the pump we have now. That pump is on state bid at $40,000. So obviously significantly more than 27, but even if we decided to resell it a year from now, we would definitely get at least $13,000 in return from it, which would therefore cover the cost of our rental agreement and or the cost of that pump. And if we chose as a town to keep the pump moving forward, we now have an asset that's something we can utilize and benefit from long term. So I would just throw that out as an option to the commission, that instead of giving away $27,000, we look at potentially gaining an asset and therefore having a backup pump that we can use in the future in the event we have another generator failure and we need more than one Big Blue in operation.
Did you mention it's on wheels?
It is on wheels and it has a diesel tank built into it, so it's truly self-contained. It does have, one of the things we were looking at is because it could potentially be used in an environment which is primarily residential, the town, they do have a quiet operation system that can be added to it to reduce the noise, but that's an additional $8,000. So I'm not presenting that as our first case option to you. I think the benefit of gaining the pump and having the asset versus the rental is much more beneficial to the town if you see it the same way I do.
Well, flooding's not going away.
Correct.
Hurricanes are going to come. Okay, I'd like to now open it up for public comment prior to commission. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment. Commission comment?
I love the $40,000 idea, because if you look at the town, we got Spanish River, we got Coconut, we got Hudson, we got Tropical. We now have a pump on wheels. It's a big unit. It's not a small unit that we can take to any disaster location.
Well, no, we have two.
Right.
Right. And how old is Big Blue?
Big Blue has been refurbished once and is probably now pushing about 18 years.
What's
The
its lifespan?
refurb was done in
26
years.
2016 or 17?
Okay, good memory. About 6 years ago, and it is in good working condition. We now store that pump inside, which is something we used to not do, because obviously it's salt elements deteriorate very quickly if you don't maintain it properly. But that pump is configured primarily for use at Tropical. So if we have a failure at Tropical, that pump is configured with plumbing fixtures to quickly attach to Tropical. And the concern that I would have in using that as a temporary pump in other locations is once it's deployed, you then can't use it for Tropical if you need it there. So by having two Big Blues, you really have one that can be designated as the Tropical pump and always available if there's a problem. And then you have an alternative one that can be used in any other location like Coconut or any other place that we identify.
Bimini Cove.
Yeah, pick one.
Ocean Ridge.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just to be clear, I just want to make sure I was looking through, I remember the number. It's $40,804 to be exact.
And you said we could get it off state bid,
It is on the Board of
which
Sheriffs
means
Association's.
we would not need to go out to bid for this purchase.
Actually, it's new.
It is brand new.
Yeah.
As they say in business school, when you got the order, I'll now entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Pugh, second by Commissioner Bishlack. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Good work again.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. Agenda item number 7, resolution 2022-04, amending the employee handbook. Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please read the resolution by title into the record?
Resolution number 2022-04, resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, amending the employee handbook, providing for repeal of prior resolutions in conflict and providing for an effective date.
Okay, Town Manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this item?
Absolutely. The employee handbook was last revised in September 2021 to strengthen our human resources policies and procedures. Further revisions are recommended at this time to address the recent changes to the union contract that were passed this evening, including the drug-free workplace policy and changes to workers' comp. The proposed changes to the employee handbook have been reviewed for legal sufficiency, and staff recommends approving the resolution amending the handbook as submitted.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Seeing none, closing the floor. Commissioner comment. Housekeeping pretty much, right?
Pretty much.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve the resolution 2022-4, amending the employee handbook.
Second.
that is a motion by Commissioner Bishlack, a second by Vice Mayor Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 8, adopting a drug-free workplace policy. Town Manager Stevens, please advise us on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of our union negotiations this year, the town requested that a change be made to the contract to recognize that the town intends to pursue a drug-free workplace policy, as the town is committed to providing a safe work environment and to fostering the well-being and health of its employees. Adopting a drug-free workplace policy not only helps to provide a safe work environment, it also helps to keep our insurance rates down. The proposed drug-free workplace policy was created by the town's labor attorney pursuant to statute, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We're on a timeline. We've got a bet going on here. Okay. I'll now entertain a motion if there's no commissioner comment.
The only comment that I have is this does not conflict with somebody that has medical marijuana if they
It
get it.
would depend, if you don't mind, it would depend on the position in which they are currently employed with the town as to whether or not that policy would directly apply to that.
And this came from the police union. They made this part of the contract. Is that correct?
No, they
No,
agreed
no, we
to it as part of the request that the town made to include it. But there is an act that we follow that's a statutory guide for the principles that apply. If that helps you.
Yes.
Okay, I'll now entertain a motion.
So move.
Okay, that's a motion by Commissioner Bishlack, a second by Commissioner Pugh. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 9, adopting updated salary ranges for police officers and sergeant in accordance with the union contract. Town Manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this item?
Yes, and again, according to our union contract negotiations, we updated the salary ranges for police officer and sergeant. And we also changed how top out situations work. And we recommend approval as submitted.
So this was part of the negotiation, so this is, we really don't have much choice.
Correct.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Seeing none, I'll now open the floor to commissioner discussion. Hearing none, I'll now entertain a motion. So move. Okay, that is a motion by Vice Mayor Hurlbert, a second by Commissioner Bishlack. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 10, approving updates to the construction site management handbook. Building official Guy, will you please advise us on this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the January meeting, we had presented the updated community standards program. Out of that, we had a new schedule of fees, and was recommended that we include that schedule in the handbook as well. So we went ahead and attached that, which is probably the largest addition. We also at that time included the owner's signature and required signatures on each page. This was presented last month, but it came back because we needed some clarification on item number 8, having to do with parking, where we recommended adding an MOT be required in the event that we have extremely large vehicles. So there was a little bit of cleanup to that one. That's the major change that came back after the first presentation. So you can see as presented for your approval. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Seeing none, commissioner discussion.
So I want to clarify one thing with Ronnie, which I did at the staff meeting. Number 15, occupancy. Occupancy of any structure that's a certificate of completion is prohibited. However, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie, because we ran into this just recently, somebody didn't have the PCO or the CO, but they had their huge moving truck coming down from the northeast, and they tried to put their furniture in the garage, which I don't have a problem with. And correct me if I'm wrong, you don't necessarily have a problem with that either, as long as they don't try to extend it into the house. In other words, if a storage truck shows up the week before they get their TCO, they can put it.
It is not recommended only because people have not been honorable.
I know that.
In keeping it in the
In the
garage.
staff meeting, you said yes. I just wanted to
So if
clarify
it
that.
remains in the garage,
Correct.
but that is never the case. So just,
Ronnie-
we have a track record of it migrating inside the house, and it becomes a difficulty for finalizing the house inspections, because now we have furniture to maneuver around, and in some cases, it is a hazard.
So what's the answer?
The answer is it's always best to wait.
But I have my moving truck coming down right now, and I want to put my furniture in the garage. I go to Ronnie and I say, hey, my truck's here. I don't want to have to put it in storage and bring it back up from focus storage.
So if the house, the structure, let me call it that, has not been completed and there have not been final inspections, it's not a home, it's a construction site. That's true.
But you know you're going to give it a CO next week. Would you go in the garage and say, yeah, this is all fine in here, go ahead?
I don't know that, and it's difficult to put me in a situation
Well,
like
try
that to make that type of.
Because I want you to use your discretion in these cases, so we don't have so much friction with residents.
So I'll just say what I've done in the past. I have made that agreement in the past, and I have been burned. Let me just leave that.
But then can you refuse to do the inspection if there is furniture in the house and you're not able to actually do the CO?
I can, but I've never done.
I think it's a hypothetical. I think
it's going to
the residents kind of should have the option of putting it there. If they leave it there, and if they don't, I think you should just refuse to do the CO until they have moved everything back into the garage.
I
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I think they can wait. They know when the CEO is coming. Why make the
Well,
moving? and
because that's not true.
No,
The CEOs, because of the permitting issues and the delays, which happen with the contractor and with the town, the CEOs tend to extend.
no, I know how it works. I'm just saying that I agree that I don't think that they should be moving anything into a house without a CO. Because it is a construction site. It's not
Well,
complete.
I don't think that anybody argues that. The
Okay,
question is, do they do it? As you said, that yes, that usually furniture, find the little ends just carry it from the garage into the house all of a sudden.
He's preferring it doesn't.
I would leave that at his discretion to say, you know what? That's what Steve's objection to that is.
Is that good with you?
Just
No,
make note.
you're not thrilled with that.
Yeah, but why can't if the person's moving down and they know they're having a problem with a CO and there's a certain part of that building that they can't really get the CO done and they know they're moving stuff down, they can actually go to Durrani and say, look, I want to get a TCO, a temporary certificate of occupancy. He can then at that point give them the TCO, they can move the stuff in the garage and everything's fine. But they just have to kind of plan a little bit ahead.
But that's Durrani's discretion.
Right. But that Commissioner, you brought that up because this is a new program that we put in. It's not just a CO, but it's a TCO. So if we do have those administrative hiccups and we're waiting on, for example, like updated survey, which will not affect the host, then there's a process where a owner can move in. And that's kind of what this cleaned up to for the lines in.
Yeah, he says TCO.
So I have a question. Look at number 9. And it will directly affect me, so that's why I'm asking the question. So the person making or causing an excavation or demolition. So that means every time I build a pool in Ocean Ridge, I'm gonna notify everybody within 3 houses around, I'm digging a hole?
Yes, sir.
It just has more costs to them. Written notice of owners of adjoining building by them to excavation be made and that the adjoining buildings should be protected. What does that mean? That means that I'm gonna have to protect them? Does that mean I'm warning them that they need to protect the buildings because we're digging a pool next door?
So this is actually not unique to Ocean Ridge. It's actually a Florida building code that anytime you do any type of earth moving activity that will affect an adjacent neighbor, that they be notified that it's not that. So just call it.
Okay, well, you know that I do build pools up and down the whole state of Florida, right? All the way from Key West all the way up to Jacksonville. Not one place has ever asked me, and the worst place, not the worst, but the most technically difficult to work with has been the town of Palm Beach because they have a lot of rules. Okay? And some of the rules I agree with that you've changed here, like the right of way permits and things of that nature. But some of the stuff though, when you're now adding this and you don't know it, so you put your permit in, whether it's a full contract or any other contract. And whether or not the Florida Building Code says it is or not, it does affect that contract. And all of a sudden, they're saying, oh, by the way, you have to notify. That's a whole new process that I can tell you right now, I've been doing it 38 years now. I've never had to do that, ever. So is there actually a FBC code I can look up that says I have to notify when I dig a pool, the excavation? If there is, I just need
FBC, I
to.
believe 2504, having to do with demolition. And that is there. And actually, we did have one situation. And if you notice, we actually asked for you to keep that information so that we're able to audit. We did have one owner that complained that they were never notified. And, the work had to stop until they were properly notified. Because again, it is the owner's right to be advised that there is something happening next door.
Now, I understand what you're saying, and I will look at the code and I will look at it, but I think that the intent of this code was not digging holes for pools, it was the intent of demolition of building.
Yeah.
So if some of these things that we're doing, we're reading into what the intent was. That's why some of it may be a little hard on some. I mean, I'll notify anybody who wants to get notified, but this is new, and I think sometimes we do tend to read into something where that's not the intent of the code. The code is not the intent, it's basically to remove a building so the building can be protected in case any flying debris. So I'll just have to look into
You're
that.
drilling or pumping piles into the.
Well, that's a whole different issue because you have demolition and then you have pumping piles as part of the building permit.
Falls on it. You're the one that gets thrown under the bus there because, you're going with a little backhoe and just digging out a pool. That doesn't cost anything. I get it, but.
Yeah, I read it slightly differently, and I'd like to know who's protecting what. But you remember on Inlet K, the old gentleman that came in here 5 years ago? So they had a ball busting up the patio next door to him, and it cracked his patio. I think that's what the intention is: protection, and.
Well, that's the demolition part of it.
Right.
Literally says
Precisely.
demolition.
But it also says all public and private lots abutting construction sites shall be protected from damage during construction, modeling, and demolition. Well, who's protected?
How do you protect?
Who's protected?
Right.
The
So does that
construction
mean
worker, the
the
homeowner?
contractor's gonna protect it? It's a very,
Contractor would be protecting it by its insurance.
Really bad, because the contractor tells the guy at the store, none of you had that crack before you. And the owner couldn't prove that he had it, that he didn't have it.
And that's why you notify them 10 days before so they can take a video.
Exactly. So at this point, I think we're extrapolating, Commissioner,
Yeah,
I would like for you to look at the building code to see if there is, if it would apply to what you're talking about.
we can always amend it at any time we want.
True, right. Right. And you know what, in our little town, when we don't notify people is when our heads are brought out on mistakes. So I'd rather err on the side of letting people know things that happen. And I think it actually helps with liability for any contractor doing that.
Okay, I got one. I got a fight on that.
Ah,
Because the reason being is because the fact that somebody's painting your house and they're using a sprayer. You don't tell people next door to using a paint sprayer and they paint the car and everything else. That's as much damage as would be caused by digging a hole in the dirt or flying. So I'm just saying that there are
it's
other
not the
mitigating
dirt
steps.
flying around, it's the shaking of the ground or the sinkhole potential or anything else like that. I think you're comparing apples and oranges.
No, I
You
disagree.
see-
I
You think
disagree.
you have to dig sinkholes?
Sinkholes? How do you think of sinkholes?
Carefully.
All right.
So what are we gonna do?
Nothing.
Can we fix it at the next meeting?
No, I think we
Just
should,
exactly.
I think we should agree to what's here, because he did change the main points, especially with the TCO, which is the biggest problem in the last. So if we approve this thing, it doesn't mean we can't always amend it.
You're gonna dig
change
into it if you see a problem.
No pun intended.
Mhm.
All right.
In that case, I'll make the motion to approve the handbook changes as presented by the commission.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Michalak, a second by Vice Mayor Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Nays. Motion carries 5-0 unanimous. Agenda item number 11, approve unbudgeted expenditures of up to $30,000 to Line Tech for water valve replacement in the 6885 area of North Ocean Boulevard. Town Manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this issue?
Yes, Public Works received a call from Boynton Water that the meter at 6885 North Ocean was unable to be shut down and water turned off 100%. They contacted our service vendor Line Tech to assess the problem, and upon digging up the water service, they found an old galvanized 2-inch service from the main line. The old service needs to be abandoned and a new one installed. In order to make the repairs, the main line shut down is necessary from Island Drive to Sable Island Drive. The quote does not include repair of asphalt in the FDOT right-of-way. The water line exists around 18 inches to 2 feet from the edge of the roadway. If it becomes necessary to encroach into the shoulder during the work, additional costs will be incurred. The water is currently not leaking, so it's not currently an emergency, but the service does need to be replaced as soon as possible. We have a couple of options. Option one being to proceed with the current quote to perform the work now, or wait until we replace the water line on the east side of A1A and perform the work at that time. If we wait and do it at that time though, and if a water leak occurs between now and then, it will become an emergency repair at that time, which could be more costly for the town.
Yeah, how much more?
Depending. So if we have a leak and we have to go into A1A again, the repair could be quite costly.
You had 65,000 to 150,000.
Yeah.
To your question.
Right.
You could, yeah.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Just for your edification, this is happening across the town. This is not an isolated incident. Now, closing public comment. Opening it to commissioner discussion. I am of the ilk of waiting until the water line is replaced. We continue to talk about infrastructure, economies of scales, and doing things all simultaneously to try to help things. The fact that this leak was detected by a meter, not by a person, or overflowing toilets or sprinklers squirting, 50 feet high. It's not leaking now. I don't feel that there's the need to preemptively do it. But with that having been said, when is the water line replacement project scheduled?
It's not scheduled yet. Currently, we have hired Ingenuity to go through and do the assessment when we're waiting for her report. So it could be quite a long time because we would still have to go out to bid for the project
Okay,
after that.
tell me what quite a long time is. 3
Could
months?
be a year,
Year?
could be 2 years.
Did you see the picture?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Perhaps,
Billy's picture?
Carly excuse me, could put up the picture of the valve. Do you have that ability, Carl? I can rip it out of my package.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it. It's gross. It's gross.
Yeah, but look at that. It's not a good.
So everything down is not much better.
So I'm not a spectrum kind of guy, but this seems to me like, once we fix this, we can use this, we can attach it into the new system that we put in. So we're just,
No,
we can't?
no. We're gonna replace the whole line at that point.
That's my point.
That's why it will be,
And there's
waiting.
And let's be clear, there's also a risk by fixing just this right now, that you can
That puts the
actually
pressure
break
somewhere else.
the actual pipe.
So I don't understand. If we fix this and it's in line with where we're gonna replace, and we can't keep the
No, because you're-
$29,000 valve.
Because you're replacing the whole pipe at that point.
We're really not replacing this. We would just be replacing a single
Right,
valve.
valve
cutting either
itself.
side and putting in a valve.
Yeah, just the valve itself, not the rest. We'll do that.
$30,000.
Yes, $30,000.
I still don't understand how we buy a brand new valve and it's no good.
It's good, but you need to take it out because then you want a pipe. You don't want an interrupted pipe. You
Well,
want
this
a
valve
pipe
must
and
do
keep-
something.
Well, right
Why
now,
is it there?
right now, it's just gonna help.
What does this valve do?
Turns
It
off
turns
the
the
water
water
service
off.
to 6885 if it were working.
If it was working.
And there's gonna be a pipe with no turnoff valve?
No, there would be what we call inserter valves installed on either side of the pipe that feeds this valve, so that the water could be disconnected to the valve, and then the valve could be replaced
Okay.
without interrupting service to the whole town.
All right, well, I agree with Christine. Is that noteworthy?
It is. It is, my friend.
God almighty, that's a mess under there, but I know it's not pretty or any place in town. So that is a tough one, right? I know Billy was kind of, he didn't know, because the same thing. What if? That's a big what if when we don't see what's under there. But it's also a big amount to spend on something we can't use for the
Right.
next project that's coming up. So good God, it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I'm hesitant to
Right.
recommend
I
waiting,
know.
but I'm hesitant to recommend doing it now too. It's
That's right,
just-
spending the money.
There's no win-win here. It's all lose.
So we can blame you no matter what happens.
Tell
Me,
you
yeah.
what, I tell you what, blame me. I'll make the motion
Oh, let's
to
hear it.
defer the maintenance, the expenditure of this item. Not be in favor of going forward with it.
But I would like to amend it that staff keep this carefully and closely under watch.
Oh, absolutely, because
They don't have a
if
choice.
we detect
That's what's going
a water leak at all, we want to attack it as quickly as
Then
possible.
it comes right back. Then.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Yeah,
Okay. That is a motion by Commissioner Bishwak, a second by Commissioner Cos. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 12, Vice Chair Cherry. Thank you for your patience. Will you please present the finding of the
Good evening, Commissioners. You have before you the report at the February 22 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. There's nothing within it that I think requires highlighting. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Chair, Vice Chair Cherry?
I think it's very clear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13, Town Manager Stevens, will you please present your town manager's report?
Certainly, thank you. The town is currently under contract to purchase land in Ocean Ridge with a 60-day due diligence period in order for the town commission to have the opportunity to hear from residents and either vote for or against the contract. The property consists of 8.95 acres of land and the contract price is $1,999,000. I have attached to your packet the legal notice regarding the purchase, along with information regarding the benefits of the purchase to the town and its residents. We are also including that on the website for the public to view. Second item, repairs on the Island Drive, Sable Island Drive, and Inlet Cave Drive bridges will commence on March 15th with a duration of approximately 90 days. A memo from the town engineer is attached with details and also provided on the town's website for reading by the public. The town and Ocean Ridge Garden Club are sponsoring the Save the Seas Plastics Free event on Saturday, April 2nd, here at Town Hall. Please join us for a day of fun-filled educational activities. The event flyer is attached with more details. It's also posted on the website, and we do have some here at Town Hall for people to take. In the month of February, we celebrated the employee anniversaries of our police investigator, Aaron Chauvin, who has served the town for the past 4 years, along with police officer LaQuandra Beckford, who has served for 4 years, dispatch manager Jessica Simpson, who has served for 17 years, and dispatchers Valentina Klaus and Kristen Moretti, who have both served the town for 1 year. We thank them for their service and dedication to the town. On March 14th through 18th, the Florida Government Finance Officers Association is sponsoring Government Finance Professionals Week, a week-long series of activities aimed at recognizing government finance professionals and the vital services they provide for local governments and the communities in which they serve. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our treasurer, Jean Hallahan, for her hard work and dedication to the town. It has recently been brought to my attention that bicycles, motorcycles, and scooters are being driven on the town's crossovers and potentially damaging them. I'm recommending that we address this in the town's code of ordinances so we have legal authority to prevent this in order to protect the town's investment in the crossovers and to provide an extra layer of safety there while also preventing a potential liability issue for the town. And if I can get consensus to work on this item, I can work on it with the town attorney and we can bring something back.
And can you please include bike racks? Because I don't know what the rules are. There's motorcycles parking at the Beachway Bike Rack. There are scooters parking at the Beachway Bike Rack. And there are electric bikes. Electric bikes are slim and take up as much room as a bicycle. But the motorcycles and the scooters, I can't believe that's legal.
No, it's not. And we have been issuing citations, including to golf carts that park in those
Golf
areas.
carts too, that's right. Yeah. So we don't need that to be examined as Tracy examines this new.
No, and to be completely honest with you, this is more for vehicles that do not have a license plate associated with them, because if they do have a license plate associated with them, off-road use is not permitted anyways. So you have the legal
So
authority.
if it's a vehicle with a license plate, they should not park there.
And they should not operate on the dunes or on the crossovers.
There are a few crazies that actually drive them on.
Oh, yes.
Correct. The bigger issue are like the
Yeah.
rental scooters,
Yeah.
the smaller CC vehicles that don't require registration. So that's the one she's trying to address by the ordinance. The remaining vehicles that have license plates are already covered by state statute.
Okay. But you can allow electric bikes. So a lot of residents have electric bikes. Not the great big ones, the little slim ones.
But they don't have license plates either.
No, but he's saying they're trying to capture some hybrid that doesn't have it.
Electric bikes will fall under the state statute. Considered bicycles.
As long as we're discussing this, one of the things that I would like to maybe circle back with is something that Vice Chair Carey brought up many years ago about the rental scooters that seem to be proliferating larger cities, that you can just pick them up, you use your app, you can scoot wherever you want to, and then you just leave them. And I have seen there's 2 rental places in Delray that are now doing this, and there is one In Boynton, I think the difference in the one in Boynton is they make you bring it back, which is the good news, but eventually it will
Didn't
not.
we ban that from sidewalks?
We did.
We did, we
Talked about it and we giggled and we thought it would never happen to us, and so here we are. So,
But we haven't seen any
yes, I've seen
We have
quite a few.
here in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're becoming more popular as the batteries are extending the lifeability of these vehicles to travel further distances. It is becoming more realistic for us to have an impact by it.
So I would just ask for consensus, as long as we're looking at this,
To
we look
include
at
it
it
in
to
here.
include, correct.
Yeah, sure.
I'm okay, I'm in. Okay.
Okay, great. And last but not least, the estimated start date for installation of the Crown Colony Crosswalk is March 28th.
Okay.
Don't ask the finish date wrong.
Begin date. Okay, agenda item number 14. Thank you, Town Manager Stevens. Attorney Gadot, do you have anything to report?
No report, Ms. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 15. Chief Jones, please present your police report at this time.
So as you know, you have an attached activity report. You've probably noticed a completely different reporting of numbers than what you're used to seeing. This is always a month behind in reporting. So I went back and looked at over the 8 months prior to me taking over as chief in August. We averaged about 43 proactive events per month. In the month of January, we had 300 and over 350 proactive policing events. What does that mean for the town, for the residents? It is reflective of us utilizing the technology that we have to aggressively target people who come to our town with no good intention. And I publicly say that because I'm confident in the numbers and I'm confident in the technology we're using. These are proactive events that allow us to target stolen vehicles when they enter our town, vehicles that are illegally or improperly licensed to be operated, which are typically driven by criminals who are not here to visit the beach and then go home. They're here to do other things that we don't want them to do. So as you can tell from the monthly report in January, we made 6 arrests. That is a number that we typically don't do in any month. All of these are proactive results from the police officers that are encouraged to go out, find criminal activity, target criminal activity, and create a reputation for us as a town so that the people who have no legal reason to be here other than to commit crime feel like they're not welcome and they don't return. And we're going to continue this method of policing so that it creates a safety net for our community and allows these folks to realize that when they communicate with their friends and they talk about Ocean Ridge, they are not talking about us positively, and therefore their friends don't want to come visit us either. So we have a new saying: you can come here on vacation, you're going to leave on probation. Can I take a question?
Sure.
I was wondering when the cameras will be installed on the Island Drive.
We are at this point about 3 weeks out.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I don't want to disclose the technology and how we're using it to interface, but what I will tell you is that now every police officer and every one of our vehicles has this technology installed in it, and they're getting up to the second updates about criminal activity as things are occurring in our community and as these people are entering and or leaving our town. So if you see us out on the side of the road, with black tubes in our hands, just standing there like we're looking around, those are stop sticks. We've had 3 opportunities in the last month to deploy them in town against vehicles that were here targeting us for criminal activity. So the crime has always been here and the criminals have always come here, just like they do every other town. What we have to do is set ourselves apart from those other towns and put forth a very aggressive approach so that we make it very clear that we're not welcoming them and they won't be allowed to come here and target our residents. So if you have any other questions about the statistics, I'll be more than happy to answer them. As it relates to the fire rescue report, you will see that we've had an increase like we normally do during this time of year, so that's not anything unusual. And all of the times with the adjustments are way below the 8.5-minute time.
Chief, since you started the aggressive criminal enforcement program, how many vehicle burglaries have we had since then? And
So one of the things that we also did during the month of October was we installed a new records management system that allows us to start tracking some of that data a little better than we had the ability to before. So the very last criminal incident we had was on January 23rd. That was about 13 days after we started the program. We started it on January 10th. So it had only been kind of up and running for about 10 or 12 days. During the month of February, we had 0. So this is a preliminary number that I don't want to get really excited about because we're very early into the project and we're very early into the numbers. But I think that what we will see is we will see a trend where our crime rates will continue to decrease as our proactive policing numbers increase. That's just the norm in crime prevention and policing. Nobody can really explain it other than the presence of law enforcement is so visible that the criminals are deterred simply by being present in the community and seeing that activity. So the two relate, but there's no science to connect the two or to determine how those numbers really relate to one another, if that answers your question.
it does, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 17, building official Guy, will you please present your report?
Thank you, Mayor. The building official's report is presented for you in the package. Please accept it as read. If you have any questions, please answer.
I actually do. Sorry.
Blowing my
17
timeline
Modern
here,
Drive. The permit is expired as of the 19th. They had the last inspection on the 22nd. How far is that project? Is that getting close to completion or?
Yes, actually, we have a final building tomorrow. So they've had problems with securing a permit for degrading seawall, and we were awaiting confirmation that they actually have submitted their permit to DEP, and they have presented proof that they have, and they've actually mitigated the area by installing a temporary fence to barricade that area from any possible use. So those are some things that we put in place, and they're actually right at the finish line.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to town commissioner comments. Very briefly, the mayor's update. It's been a busy one. Here's some key meetings that I attended as mayor. I went to a meeting that was Town of Boynton's manager, Lori LeBerry, presented the state of the city and the goals for the upcoming year. And I think it's always important when we hear what our surrounding cities have to say, especially when they are service providers of ours. And several people from Ocean Ridge also enjoyed coming there. Another part of that, it was done by a group called the Inlet Community Association, which is a Boynton group of waterfront communities. And they're influential. They were respected by staff and commissioners. I've worked with them in the past. They are not supportive of large scale developments, so we're not cavorting with the enemy by any means. But they have a strong voice, and I think it's always good that we try to do those type of networking things. I attended the Briney monthly commission meeting as usual, the Palm Beach League of Cities meeting and luncheon as usual. I attended Leadership Palm Beach County Day. That's important because of key interactions and relationship building with the new head of Boynton's Public Works Division, which is going to be instrumental, obviously, in our water negotiations and septic, and also the Assistant County Administrator. I'll attend the Boynton Chamber of Commerce very early meeting later this week, and the reason being is the county mayor, Bob Weinroth, will be presenting the state of the county and the goals for the upcoming year. So I'll be able to bring that information back to the town. And last but not least, I'll participate in the monthly Florida League of Cities Mayor's Call. It is really an invaluable way to cross-collaborate with some of our sister cities and learn how they handle the issues, because their issues are the same as our issues, and it's nice to be able to have some economies of scale there. That's all I got. Yep. You're up.
Okay, so I just wanted to get an update on the Old Ocean Boulevard Pedestrian Safety Task Force that I brought up at the last meeting and meeting before. We decided we were going to do the task force into a workshop. Tracy, would you bring us up to date?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, you brought up this, this task force to us in January, and the commission did decide to do the task force. After that meeting, we advertised on our website and in the newsletter that we were creating the task force, and we got a really great response. We now have 18 people who want to serve on that task force. So now you have all decided that the first thing we're going to do is hold a workshop for the task force. So the task force will hold a workshop. It's not the commission holding the workshop. It's the task force holding the workshop, and that will be public. I sent out an email to all of the residents that were interested. I'm gathering their dates that they're available, and once I receive that back, I'll set up a date that's good for everyone, and we'll move forward with that. Chief Jones, since then, also began his educational campaign regarding pedestrian safety along that corridor. And it has been working really well so far. They've engaged a lot of residents and non-residents, and they are achieving compliance with people, you know, moving to the side of the road and facing oncoming traffic if they're walkers and bikers moving with traffic. I've also gathered information regarding the cost to hire a professional facilitator for the workshop, which should be someone who is not a resident of Ocean Ridge and who can really be objective and really run that workshop.
Whoa, backtrack. Why do we need this person? I thought it was
Facilitator for
a
the
citizens committee.
It is.
And the idea was you would go to the first meeting and let them choose their leader who would run the meeting. And then,
So we should not do it that way, though. If we're gonna do this right and really have a task force for this, we really should get a facilitator.
You get an objective facilitator, is how most of these charrettes, and they go.
I just totally disagree with the concept. We have the town folk that want to be on the committee.
They're on.
They are.
Right,
They
I
will
get
be.
that, but
Yeah.
I don't.
And then they break
I don't
up
see
into
why we
groups.
need to hire somebody to run a meeting of our town folk.
My interjection would be is, I think we could look within our town and have somebody, and I already know somebody who could do that, and I think that they would be as objective as anybody else outside of the town, and you wouldn't have to pay them. And it's just a way to give the meeting somewhat of a format, because you get 18 people in the room and they're never going to all agree on anything.
Right.
So I think it's more creating the umbrella and the processes, but I don't believe that we need to go outside of the town.
Okay, we're in agreement, because I was looking at it that at the first meeting, and it's just my thoughts, that somebody would be chosen to be that person. I know Peter Burling has volunteered, but he's only here for another 4 months probably. And this is exactly what he did in New Hampshire for 28 years.
And same thing, Mickey Farley, this is what she and her husband did professionally for many years.
But basically what we do is.
Can't you get that?
Yeah.
You don't get that?
We collect data, and we need somebody who's going to oversee the collection of data that's not part of the process. It's basically an overseer. And there's professionals that do this. So whatever we decide, it's definitely not one person who's going to be part of the task force.
Right.
They oversee.
And both of those people you just mentioned wanted to be part of the task force.
It couldn't be part and lead.
Okay, well, I mean, I think you could give them the option.
There must be other people as well.
Yeah. But I just, like you said, those two people have done it professionally, understand how to move it forward.
I don't have a problem with it. And I'm sure there's other people out of those 18 that.
Remember, this is not leading the group, this is facilitating whatever happens at the meeting. And they're not actually, can't be part of the group, to try to remain as.
So then there's no input from them for the task force, and these people might be better used as input. So it's just a consideration. This isn't anything tied with them. Right? It's a consideration about a facilitator, because that's what
Right, and just to mention too, this is a huge undertaking, this is a huge project. And, you know, we want to make sure somebody is facilitating it, because to put that on staff is going to be a huge burden when we have other
So
competing
let's dig in and
projects.
look for some options. How about
Yeah, that's fine. Since you brought it to the table, Ethan,
I'm happy to assist because I've probably taken part in close to a dozen of these situations before. So I know how they unfold and how you utilize people. So I'm happy.
So plus, do you want to be the facilitator?
No,
I
no,
was just
I'm
going to
happy
say,
to
you
do
took
that.
the word right out of my mouth.
Because this is a citizens committee.
I mean, I could. I originally suggested that, but I thought it's probably best if I work with the facilitator. So again, if we want to talk about finding somebody inside town to do that, then we should talk about that. But my role originally was going to be as an assistant to the facilitator, because every facilitator needs somebody, just like they would need you two to be walking through each little group that breaks up. When somebody starts talking about, let's think of this, let's do that, and you're going, that's against the law, no can do. And you know it works for the town because you've got all our ordinances.
But I'm assuming that the facilitator could go to the town commission and present what they're recommending.
Right.
yeah,
Right, that'd be one of the steps once the data comes in, and then it turns into, right.
So facilitator needs an assistant facilitator.
Would have been what it is, yes. It's a lot of people, because we have 18 people plus the rest of the public who doesn't want to be part of the task force, but wants to take part and give some information.
So next, let's leave it to the facilitator's discretion whether they would like some additional support, and that could be completely administrative, whether it's just writing the stuff on the board, or it's organizational, collecting people's phone numbers and emails afterwards so you can get back in touch with them.
Right, it's all
I mean,
organization.
you can't facilitate and gather the information at the same time.
Well, it's one of the
Yeah,
others.
that's the question.
Big job.
is there any objection to Vice Mayor Probert being involved in the process, though? I mean, are you okay with?
So you could be the facilitator. Really? I mean, you could be writing stuff on the board, you could be the
We'll
person,
talk
get
about
everybody
it.
The
going.
idea was not to have somebody from the commission involved in the meeting.
But the facilitator has no part except for organizing and, as you said, writing the data, keeping track of who said what, and moving it forward. That's, it facilitates the situation. They're not necessarily.
What I'm just hearing from staff is don't make us do it because we
Right.
don't have the bandwidth.
So we
at this
can
point.
discuss options for facilitating. How about
Good? Good. We have a consensus, or?
Now, we're 3 minutes over my 8:15
Okay.
bet, okay?
Mhm.
So let's wrap
You
this up.
You lost.
I did not lose. Yeah.
Is it money on it?
So do we have a consensus?
What do we consensusize?
For Vice Mayor.
You don't want to pay for a
Probert to be involved.
facilitator. We're looking for another
Somebody
option.
in town.
So looking for
I do not think
another
it should
option
be-
that we don't pay.
Can you just wait till you get the meeting together in the first meeting? It's-
That's
But
how
I
you need to
was thinking it should be
facilitate.
the town.
I mean, it's the first meeting is a task for meeting everybody, and then you have to just
It is,
discuss
but
it, and at that
That's where
point,
you need to
discuss.
be
You need,
facilitator.
you need, you need
You need a
someone
facilitator.
leading the herd. If not, it's just 18 people on the line.
Maybe,
You've got enough consensus? Just say yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting unless there's any further commission comments. Meeting adjourned at 8:15 PM.
8:15 is fine.
8:15.
Yeah, okay. 8:18. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Sarah.